To do an iCord, you will need either two double-pointed needles or a circular needle. I will show you both methods in this tutorial. You will also need the yarn that you are going to work your iCord in. You can cast on an iCord using whichever cast-on method you like. In this one I'm going to show you a long tail cast-on, and then in the next one I will show you using a cable cast-on. As always, you start with a slip knot. I am doing a 3-stitch iCord, so in this case I will do my slip knot and cast on 2 additional stitches. When you use a long tail cast on, your yarn is in the position for working the first row of your iCord and you don't need to knit a row. The next part is key to an iCord. Instead of knitting the next row or turning your work, you slide the stitches to the other end of your double pointed needle. From here, you make sure that you have your working yarn rather than your tail yarn ready to work. And you bring the yarn around the back of the work and knit the first stitch. We'll just take a quick look at the back of the work there and you can see the yarn. You then knit the rest of the stitches in the row. Once you come to the end of the row, again you don't turn, you slide your stitches back to the other side, you bring the working yarn across the back of the work, and again you knit the first stitch and the rest of the stitches in the row. I recommend when you're doing this to pull a little bit more tightly than usual on your yarn as you work the first stitch to create that iCord effect. You then continue repeating, sliding your yarn, knitting your stitches, and then sliding your yarn until you have the desired length of iCord. Once you have worked a number of rows, you can see how it takes on the shape of a cord, which is how it gets its name. In this version, we are going to work the iCord using a different cast-on method. This is a cable cast-on. The reason I'm doing this is because there is a slight difference in the first row. You will find both a long tail cast-on and a cable cast-on in the Core Techniques library under Cast-ons. Once you have cast on your 3 stitches using the cable cast-on method, you will see that your yarn is in a different position to when you have worked a long tail cast-on. To position the yarn correctly, knit the first row. Once you have done this, you can then slide the work to the other side of the needle. The yarn is now on the left of the work and ready to be pulled across the back of the work to knit the first row of the iCord. From here, the technique is exactly the same for knitting your iCord. You knit the 3 stitches, slide them back to the other side of the needle, and then knit them again. You continue doing that until the iCord is the required length. There are situations in which double-pointed needles are not suitable. There is a different method for doing your iCord when you are using a long circular or other needle. The first thing I'm going to do is cast on 3 stitches using the iCord method. I am not going to slide them up and down the cable of the circular needle, as this would just not be practical. Instead, you slide your cast-on stitches from the right needle to the left needle. The yarn is then on the left of the work and ready to be brought around the back of the work to knit the first row of the iCord, as it would be on a double-pointed needle. You knit across these stitches as you would if you were using the double-pointed needle, and then again, when you come to the end of that row, you slip these back from the right needle to the left needle. You continue this until the iCord is the desired length. A word of warning for this method, and that is to be careful not to split your stitches as you're sliding them back and forth. Looking at this up close, you see that you just slip the stitches back without moving them or changing their direction. And those are just some of the little variations you might experience when knitting a plain iCord.